Hello and welcome in. I am MissKinghorn and we are back here in The Sims 4 and we are also back in Tartosa. So this is number 2 out of 2. We built here last week and now we're back again. And we are back continuing with our kind of world series of different builds. I hate to call it a series because I don't know how many I'm going to do. And I feel like if I call it a series, I won't finish it. Although I don't know how many we're going to be doing. But anyway, we are back here and we're actually back in the same neighbourhood of Terra Amorosa. I'm still probably going to pronounce that wrong. Let me know how you actually pronounce it. But anyway, we are now back in a 30 by 20 lot. This is in the top far left hand corner of the map, kind of separated a little bit from the rest of the world. And we are now building a gorgeous Italian family home. So last week we did a Moroccan courtyard kind of build in there, and now we are here with the sort of Italian area. I feel like they're in the same world, but they kind of are completely opposite. I will put a card up in the top corner for you, so if you have not checked out that video, then definitely do. And there. But at the moment, we are kind of fiddling around with the exterior of this, and trying to work out how I want it all to kind of look and feel in here. And I've got to be honest, this was actually, I think, the second, maybe the third attempt at trying to get this right. It was just a bit of a weird one. I couldn't get the sizes right for what I really wanted in here, and so yeah, it proved a bit of a challenge. But what I was kind of thinking, and the reference image that I actually used is going to pop up on screen in just a second, but that this section down here is kind of like a modern-ish kind of sort of extension that was kind of built after the rest of the place, and it's kind of been modernised. That's kind of what I really wanted this sort of build to look like it's been extended a little bit more over sort of the generations over time. But yeah, we've got this really nice sort of balcony. There is the image on there. I have had to change it slightly because this had like stone on the bottom and then sort of like plaster. I've had to just go straight for like a limestoney kind of plaster. You can see how I'm trying to get the colours right for what I really wanted this sort of build to look like. In the end, I actually changed a lot of it. I settled for this one, but then I'm like, it's not really bright enough. It looks very dull and very kind of bland, and I did not want that for this house in here. So I do actually change it to a slightly sort of creamier yellowy colour eventually, but yeah, I do that probably off camera at a later date, so it may magically appear slightly different. But yeah, I think this actually has some really nice sort of points to it, and I actually enjoyed kind of doing this. Now, I've done kind of a Italian kind of Tuscan builds before, but sort of taking like at this reference image and building off those was actually a really nice kind of different sort of one, because I don't think I would have done something quite so like this before. But we actually turned this into a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom family home. It could actually go up into being a 4-bedroom family home if you change the downstairs office into like another bedroom. You have that sort of option down there. You do have one big bathroom downstairs, which also has like a little utility in it as well. I don't actually show you that because it's a bathroom and I don't tend to show you them. But you'll see that in the sort of overview floor plan at the end in there. But yeah, so there is that possibility of changing that. And then upstairs you have 2 kids' bedrooms and kind of like a family bathroom, and then the parents' bedroom, which has an ensuite in that kind of little turrety area off to the side up there as well. So yeah, we should probably talk about the new pack, shouldn't we? It's not yet out, but we are starting to get early access and starting to get some images and bits and pieces coming. I am looking forward to building in it. I have absolutely no idea what to build at the moment, but yeah, I'm super looking forward to next week's video where we kind of get to have a play around, and it's actually been quite funny because I recorded this straight after last week's, so I'm kind of sitting here doing this voiceover after sort of recording all this, after editing, and I've kind of been doing nothing for like 2-3 days, waiting, because normally I would go into recording the next one, but I can't until the pack comes out. So I'm just sort of waiting here for the new pack, watching lots of videos, watching lots of content, having fun, actually having a little break, which anyone who regularly uploads to YouTube knows that's not really a thing. In here we kind of go from one to the other to the next, but yeah, looking forward to sort of lots of different builds, lots of different ideas, and things with the new world that looks absolutely gorgeous, I have to be honest. In here, yeah, I do change this out up here. So going back to the build, originally I wanted a platform on there, but it just didn't look quite right for the image, so I actually changed it to that little kind of balcony that's not really a balcony, and I've put the door behind it, but the door kind of clips into the stairs, into the roof, sorry, so you can't really use the door, it's just more there as a decorative feature than anything else. But you know, it is what it is. I'm afraid it's one of those where it's just a little bit of an odd kind of a section in there that obviously in real life the kind of roof doesn't clip there. But yeah, we've jumped ahead. I have done all of the windows and all of that all the way around, and yeah, kind of just jumped a little bit ahead in here so that we don't go round and round in circles, which can get very kind of frustrating and sickening, I have to be fair, in here, especially as it is all sped up. In there, taking out lots of sort of landscaping, kind of wanting to keep it a little bit neutral. So we kind of have a very big side garden here, and I wanted to make this obviously a family home with lots of kind of activities for children and things like that, because there's nothing really in this world for them. There's no like play area or open space for them to kind of run around and play and sort of be kids. So I thought a nice little area over here where we could get in some play equipment as well, and then sort of following the reference image we get some more planting in and things like that, just to kind of make this look and feel a little bit more in keeping with the image that we had in there as well. And then some guttering and things, just so those small little details coming through into there, and then some trees, because why not, in here. All from the same world, so they match in very, very nicely. One thing I actually was surprised about, and I'm surprised again with this world, we don't tend to have many plants from this pack. I feel like it's something that we've kind of forgotten about, that we don't have plants. And that's actually something that I've seen a lot of kind of early access content is saying for the new world as well, that it is all very nature based, but we don't have any plants. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I feel like there probably is some in debug, but I've not really, yeah, until I get my hands on the pack, I don't necessarily know how many there's going to be or what they're going to look like, so we may have to have a good old hunt through and see what we come up with in there. But back to this build, you can see we've put in a swing set, we've put in a water balloons and a hopscotch set. I felt like that was a kind of a nice mix, so I have done this for a family of 4. You might be able to see them, they're down in the sort of bottom, just off the lot in here. They are 2 parents and 2 children, as I say. They are both children, one is a girl and one is a boy, and their bedrooms kind of really reflect that. I feel like the boy is maybe slightly older in terms of kind of age-wise, but they are both technically sort of children in there. But yeah, that's kind of the family dynamic in here. I didn't want to go too crazy because although this looks very big, it's actually quite small, and that proved quite challenging, as you are about to see. I hate to say, you are about to see, I think probably floor plan 3, possibly 2, yeah, I went round and round in circles with this build. I knew I wanted kind of lots of beams and lots of kind of sort of rooms within rooms, I think is probably the right way to put it, in here. So you're going to see this section here, which is the extension. I feel like they've kind of come in maybe like the 90s or early sort of 2000s and taken out that sort of corner of the house and extended it out and made a gorgeous sort of kitchen, dining room kind of area in there. That's what I had in my head at the time. That's what we did. But obviously it's not kind of the original floor layout that this house would have been in there. But yeah, moving things around to make everything fit. So the living room is actually kind of in the hallway that we're working on here, and then we have this sort of office space here, which is kind of open to the kind of living room with a big archway as well. But you'll see all of that as we go along in here. So I'm taking in the exterior wallpaper onto the inside. It just makes it feel very nice and kind of very traditional and what they would have done kind of back in the day when this house was built back 1800s sort of period in there. I kind of feel like that's when this house would have originally kind of been built. Guesstimating there, but you know, I love my history homes and my historic builds, so trying to keep that kind of coming through in a lot more of my builds in here. But now let's get in furnishing all of this. So nice little kind of open entranceway here. I actually like this little sideboard, and I don't know why it is placed in the shelving category. I cannot place anything on there, and you'll actually see that we have to use the red shelf to place something. So I'm not entirely sure why it's a shelf when it's not technically a shelf, and why it's not on the sideboard category. I don't know. I just like it, and I feel like it goes into quite a few of my builds over the sort of since we got it with, I think, and don't quote me on this one, it was Going Together? No, For Rent. It's a For Rent one, isn't it? Yeah. In there, I think it just adds a nice little bit of historical charm to the build. And then a big painting on this side. Maybe it's the kind of the mum of the house or something like that. It has no kind of it doesn't look anything like the female I got in for this family, but then I created her before I did this family house. So you know, now we're moving on to this sort of end of this kind of hallway section here, I guess we can kind of call it, where we place the living room. Originally I was going to use the office space that I think we're going to do in a second as the living space, but it just didn't really feel right. It felt like I had lots of space here for nothing. So in the end I placed the sort of living room area down here, kind of TV, kind of family room. I don't necessarily think they would use a lot of this space. I feel like this is a family that is very kind of busy, kind of very on the go, very active, whether that's the children playing outside, maybe they spend a lot of time in kind of like their office or doing something rather than sitting down watching television. I feel like this is just a room that they have for maybe that movie night once in a while but don't really tend to use, or something like that, or for entertaining or something like that. We do end up placing a little bit of clutter down around the place. So we've got a radio and a light on the end table, and then we have a gorgeous sort of a set of flowers and some books and just some simple little knickknacks around as well. And yeah, also a chess table, because maybe the dad is like teaching the children how to play or something like that. That was kind of what I was thinking with sort of that. And we also get some fake toy boxes in here as well. But moving over into that office space, this is where I said the living room was going to go. But I decided kind of not to and change it into this space, because I feel like maybe he was in the business career, or maybe he's a politician or something and needed his own sort of space in there to not necessarily hold meetings, but maybe work on his book or his career or research or something like that. that's kind of what I was thinking for this room. Very kind of dark wood kind of coming through in here as well, which I think also ties through this house really, really nicely, and sort of just makes it all nice and sort of calm and very elegant as well. I feel like the dark wood is kind of a lot more older than kind of the lighter wood when it comes to kind of historical kind of accuracy and stuff. I feel like a lot more furniture is in dark wood for that side. I don't know if that's technically true, but I feel it just works a lot better for what I really wanted in here. And so finishing off this room in here, I've put a little armchair in, and this kind of backs or opens onto the kind of front veranda kind of seating area in here that's kind of off to the front. You don't actually access it via anything other than the front door. There is no like sliding glass doors or anything. The windows are actually snowy escape, and I use them for all of the windows for here. I feel like because they're that kind of battened kind of soft sort of features in there, I think they work perfectly for what I really wanted in here. And a few little bits of pieces, a nice little mirror above this big statue in here as well. And then that is done, and we're now going to jump over to the kitchen. This was a kind of fun, different sort of build, because I knew that I wanted to kind of have this as a bit more of a modern kitchen, but also keeping the historical kind of old elements in kind of like the beams, the sort of dark wood, lots of windows in this section compared to the rest of the build. And I actually really like the fact that we've used this column as a point for where the island is. We do actually extend the island out slightly, simply because I don't really have enough room. It's saying that I'm looking here for getting a cooker in, and I actually use the split ones from Dream Home Decorator, where we have the hob on the island, and then we actually have the actual oven part over onto the side, because I couldn't get an extractor fan in anywhere. That's basically what rolled of this, because it would have clipped in with the windows. So yeah, there's that. And trying to find a matching bar stool that went with this wooden touches in here was a little bit difficult, so I went through quite a few, but I only showed you the odd one or two in here. And now we're going to jump ahead to finding out the last item that I always forget, in here. And again, we're using the kitchen clutter kit because why not? It is gorgeous. And yeah, I'm still missing those few pieces that I keep forgetting them, and they're like some of the staples that I always kind of use in here. And yeah, pulling out a few bits and pieces. I do actually have to move all of this slightly, simply because well, you'll see in a second, but the dining table doesn't actually fit because of the column coming down. It made it a little bit more difficult in there, but this is most of the kitchen now all done. We're just going to quickly flip through and change some colours and bits and pieces like that as well, just so that it is then all nicely matching sort of the tone that I really wanted. And you'll see it right here, I can't get a table in with all the chairs necessary, so yeah, I end up having to shunt stuff over, but it's not that big of a deal in here. And yeah, I feel like this is a really nice kind of big family kind of entertaining space where they would have families over for Christmas dinner, yeah, and those sorts of things, or like birthdays or something like that, and they can spend a nice bit of time in here where they're preparing food, where they're sort of eating as a big sort of family with maybe like guests or grandparents or something kind of like that over here as well. And then at this end we actually place in a few other items. We get a bar in, and I think just a simple end table in here, and then some artwork and bits and pieces. We don't have a bar outside, so I really wanted to get one in here. I did think about incorporating it into the kitchen and sort of into the island area. It just didn't really work in terms of that. So what we did is to kind of put one over here, and then because of that weird little gap that's down the side here, I've placed some of these kind of flowing ivy plants and just sort of hidden that little area a little bit more with some planting in here. We do actually get quite a few plants into this build, which was not really my intention at the beginning. I was kind of thinking, because we've got so many coming up where we've got lots of sort of nature-based builds, I wanted to kind of limit the number of there, but actually looking at it now, there's quite a few in this build, and there's quite a few last week as well. I feel like I placed a lot of plants in all my builds. Maybe that's something I should tone down. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you have enjoyed this build, or if you want to tell me this is completely wrong, let me know in here as well. But now we have jumped up to the upstairs area and working on the main bedroom in here. So I've kind of gone for this sort of darker, kind of pinky, kind of purpley kind of colour scheme. And we got it in the office downstairs, and we've taken it into the hallway upstairs as well. I think it's slightly lighter than the one in the bedroom, but I really love this sort of swatch with a pink and a sort of browny kind of purple swatches. I think it actually works really nicely for what I wanted in here, and I felt like this is a really nice sort of grown-up kind of space in this build as well. This room is not that big in terms of sort of size, and it is a bit of an odd shape because you have the stairs coming up, but I think we kind of eventually get it into a position where it really works with another plant. And then we actually have double wardrobes in here because I had the space, and I feel like I have a lot of clothes, and I feel like if there's two people sharing a bedroom, you would have a lot of clothes. So I decided to go for a double wardrobe in here rather than just the one. I know you don't really need to, but it kind of just feels a bit more right and a little bit more in keeping with everything. And then there's a nice chair at the end there just for tying your shoes, or just to sit down and have a breather before you're going out, doing your makeup, drying your hair, those sorts of things. I tend to sit down for a lot of that, so I just tend to incorporate a chair into the bedroom. But now we're working on the little girl's bedroom over here, and this one we go pink. Shocking, I know. I'm rubbish at girls' bedrooms. I don't really know why, but anyway, this is little girl's room. They are not the biggest. I think they're like 4x4s, but we pack a lot in here. We definitely do. And yeah, you can see I'm not overly happy with the bed, but we kind of settle on it, and then we get some of the wardrobe, or sort of dresser, and then the cabinet from high school years, which I think works perfectly with this sort of grey, pink and white kind of colour scheme. And then we get lots of just sort of knickknacks and plants and bits and pieces in here. Even for the little girl, we end up with a pink plant, because why not, in here. And then I come along and clutter in here quite a lot with different bits and pieces, because I feel like, as I said, they're very active, they're very doing, they're kind of very moving, kind of on the go kind of family. But yeah, I love this sort of moonlight. I use it more as like a night light, so I tend to place that as well as another light, just so that it fits and fills in there a little bit better. And then some sort of crafting bits and pieces on the sort of dress over there, and also getting a few little bits of sort of makeup and things like that, because maybe that's just like playing around, experimenting, or maybe it's some of like mum's old stuff that's like not very good anymore, and mum's got new ones, but she just sort of gives them to the little girl. That's kind of what I was thinking when we sort of did all of this. And then I wanted this kind of little kind of poster wall in a way of like little crafts and drawings and pictures of sort of the family, and maybe some like music or something, or like your kids' art that we've kind of got over the years. We've got the German teddy in there, and then I wanted the like an art station, because I felt like she was kind of very creative in there, so I've got that in. And then we also get the big teddy bear in, as I said, in there, and just trying to get in a few little rugs and a few bits and pieces just to kind of soften all of this up in here as well. And then a few more bits and pieces on this side, because this section here seemed a bit empty, this wall over here. I love that kind of teddy bear on the sort of like rocking horse kind of thing on the boxes. It was just a nice little fun feature in there, and I thought would work in there really well. But now we're on to the last bedroom. This is for the little boy. As I said, he's slightly older, so I thought a nice bunk bed in here would go quite nicely, and it also just allows me a little bit more space in this room, because this person, as I say, is active. They like their sports, and I kind of went a bit sports mad. I don't really know why, but we did. So we've kind of got this, I think it's supposed to be like baseball or kind of bedding on here, but it has this gorgeous sort of orange sort of swatch to it, which I think works in there really nicely with this chair, and it fits in with like the basketballs on the wall, that sort of thing in here. And so we get like a little games kind of console, like a small off sort of TV here as well, because maybe he likes playing those kind of games, like this is where I show my sports knowledge and not, but yeah, kind of in there maybe with his friends or something like those as well, but is very much kind of on the go, wanting to be more outside and things like that. I actually, when I was playtesting this, I had the boy in here kind of sitting on there, and then I got the pop-up. He doesn't like video games. I'm like, yeah, you're too active for them. So yeah, it's not necessarily something he would probably want to do, but I feel like every person or every little kid now has a console of some sort, so I figured we would get one of those in here as well. But in here we also get a little desk in there, so he can do like his homework and kind of journaling, kind of writing in his diary, maybe of all like the different sort of sports he plays and things like that. I do also have a little tablet in there for him as well, just so that he can do stuff on the go as well, because obviously we don't have a bedside table as such. I put the little alarm clock over here as well, but yeah, I feel like this is just a nice kind of messy, kind of not necessarily even a preteen, but a kind of very active kind of kids bedroom in here as well. And yeah, we are very quickly coming up to the end of this video. Yeah, so if you have enjoyed it, then give it a big thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel as we're pulling out more and more posters for this bedroom. I didn't actually realise we had so many sports posters. You know, like when you're not paying any attention and then suddenly you get lots of them? Yeah, that's what happened here. We get lots of these little ones in around the place as well, over here, and it just fills out this bedroom really nicely in there. But anyway, yes, you can also follow me on pretty much all social medias. The link tree with all of those in is down in the description as well, so you can find me there on, as I say, pretty much all social medias. But until next time, I will leave you with me struggling to find posters and curtains and things like that in this build. But until next time, bye everyone!